about 3 years ago, we started a conversation, and we love our home. So thank you for being the grace and goodness of this community and inviting Mary's Place in. We're gonna go through and tell you, just give you kind of an overview for people that don't know that much about Mary's Place today. And we'll go through some of the crisis that we see now, because it was different than it was 3 years ago. We'll share some of the numbers of what Mary's Place is doing. We'll talk about our future plans. Keisha's gonna give you the lowdown on what's happening right here in the White Center shelter. She is awesome and amazing, and we're grateful that she's here. And then we'll give you an opportunity to ask some questions to us too. How does that sound? Good. Great. All right, we're gonna start off. You don't really need to hear from us, but I tell you who tells our story best is our kids. So we have a quick video that we're gonna play for you.
Yeah. Barbara, we're turning lights. Okay, get it. Thank you.
These ones right here?
Yep.
Good.
Because it's cold.
We're sleeping in the airport, in the parks, got my kids, and they're missing the school too. And this is hard.
Every morning we had to go to like public restrooms to brush our teeth or, change our clothes, which was a heartbreaking experience.
It's hard to talk about sometimes. So we would call places, they would have room for women and children. And my husband, God bless his heart, I'll sleep in the car and you guys go. And we're like, we don't want to divide our family.
Our city is in a crisis. Our crisis is homelessness. The number of children outside has been growing exponentially in this community. And it doesn't have to be that way. Our goal at Mary's Place is to make sure that our children feel safe, loved, and invited in. And you can only do that when you bring the entire family in together.
My favorite part in Mary's Place, I have my own bed and I have my own blanket.
They help people get off of the streets so they don't have people suffering. And then when the people get in there, they get help getting into housing.
They make sure you're clean and your clothes are clean.
They would also help my mom out very much by letting us be in the kids club. Sometimes after school we'll go, and then the staff would help us do homework.
I really enjoy the staff and what they do for your kids and parents and people who need someone to talk to.
They give you a room, they give you shelter, they take good care of you.
Our goal at Mary's Place is to have families move into permanent housing as quickly as possible. And we work on that from the minute you walk in the door to the minute you walk into your house.
It feels great to just have a house again, like have family time, like movie nights and stuff.
My birthday's almost coming up, and I want them to come to my house.
I hope I can get a... What's your name?
Lexi, what would you wish for?
House.
The house.
How do I get a house?
What would your house look like?
I don't know what it's gonna be, but I'm gonna decorate it like Elsa themed, and I'm gonna paint the wall blue.
What I hope for is that homelessness would be a word that doesn't exist anymore.
What would you wish for?
To mostly have a good home and not end up like this again.
I hope you guys can make 1,000 Mary's Places.
We have seen our community stand up and bring more children inside, but we need more help. We can do this. Bring these families inside, keep them together. You can bring a child in tonight. It's up to our entire community to say, stop this crisis. We know we can do it. No child should have to sleep outside.
That is from the mouth of our children, right? They are no different than your children, your grandchildren. They have hopes and dreams. They want to paint their rooms. They want to get trampolines. But most importantly, they want to stay safe and together with their families. And they never dreamed that that would be a possibility, that they might be torn apart. And that's the gift that you've given each one of them. You invited us into your community because you see them. You hear them. You know they are out there, and you wanted to give them a home for now. And that public health department has been home to now for hundreds of families since we moved in. And you can see that we need it. Why is this happening in our community? Why are children sleeping in the back of U-Hauls? Because it's cheaper than a hotel room. Why are families snuggled up in their public storage units, just hoping somebody will find them? And why are most of them sleeping in their vehicles at the end of quiet cul-de-sacs? It doesn't have to be that way. But you can see from the slide above that $100 increase in your rent, 15% of the people in the city will lose their apartment. 32% of families in the suburbs will lose their home. They just do not have the safety net over time to make up that difference. And those are the families that we're seeing at Mary's Place. You see the numbers, you hear the one night count report. Since we last met, the numbers were going up. This year it says they went down. We tend to say, how many children are outside from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. on a winter night in January where they do the count? They're hiding. And they're sleeping, I hope, somewhere warm. But as you know, the minimum wage has gone up, but still, it takes $26 an hour to be able to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. Most of our families don't have that income. Most of them, 70% of them, come to us working. Many of them have 2 jobs.
Now is that based on like the median 2-bedroom rental statewide? Is that?
In this county.
In King County, okay.
Yeah. And then the Mary's Place, we know the crisis. We're trying to get a handle on it. Although we are a technology-rich community or county, we are very data poor when it comes to homelessness. And Mary's Place has really been working on that. And a year ago, we took over, I would say a year and a half ago, we took over the county intake line. And so, I don't know if you know, we have a little bank building in North Seattle. And we couldn't use the drive-through for people to sleep in there. We tried. We got a mom and a pack and play in there, and the fire department said, yeah, no, that's not. Yes, the Pine Bank building. That's really right, yes. So we turned the drive-through into the King County intake line. And so, and we can give you that number. We have some resource cards, but that's the number every family in King County calls. And the gal in the intake, in the drive-through, picks up the phone and simply asks them, are they unsheltered? Where are they sleeping? And we got 4,000, almost 4,000 calls in 2018 to that line. We know we were able to shelter 41% of those families. We are, we're getting better, right? We've increased the number of beds in the community, but we know we can do more. So we know it's possible to get to No Child Sleeps Outside. Here's who we're serving. They're our neighbors, but you knew that. 94% are from Washington, 83% lived in Seattle or King County, and I will tell you the majority are coming from South King County. When we run that intake line, we find out what city they're coming from. And Federal Way, Kent, Auburn, and Tukwila have the highest number of families where they are losing their address in those communities. Why is that? Simply rents were lower when they first moved here. And now as the rents have gone up, they have not been able to keep pace with that. They don't have the safety net. I told you 70% of families are working. 1 in 16 or 6% of students in the Highline School District were homeless at least once during the school year. And that's over 41,000 kids statewide that have been counted by their teachers. That's not the ones they don't count, right? Not everybody in high school, I guarantee you, is standing up saying, I don't have a home. Most of them are fearful that they will be bullied when they find out that they don't have an address. They're trying to keep that hidden. But what we do know is for families, this crisis is usually one and done. They didn't need us before this. They won't need us after this. But this is that point, that moment in time where they just needed some help to resolve a crisis that they couldn't solve alone. Many of us might have turned to family for extra rent or for a car repair or an insurance payment, or if you couldn't afford your kid's medicine, we would turn to family for help. This is a situation where they don't have somebody else to ask. And so thankfully, they stepped up and asked us to help. So what are we doing and where are we at now? When we started with you in White Center, we were the second 24/7 shelter. We now have four enhanced shelters, which we call them, which are open 24/7, and we have 4 other overnight shelters. We're opening another one at the end, or it opens on Monday, another night shelter on Aurora. All but one are in buildings that are slated for demolition, buildings that we just call home for now. It's the ultimate in recycling, right? We get to use buildings while the landlord is waiting for a permit. And so that's why we were in the public health building. We're in the Pie Bank building. We're in a little restaurant in Shoreline. We're in Kenmore at a former sheriff's station, which works out beautifully. We're in the basement of a church. And then we'll be in a software company on Aurora. That's our next one. So anywhere that we can go in that has running water and heat, we can turn it into home for now. We also have our Single Women's Day Center downtown, and it's how we were started. It's our roots. And I will tell you, I saw the numbers, and it just breaks your heart that the numbers of single women are increasing, but 44% increase in the number of senior women. There is a silver tsunami on the way. It is heartbreaking to see people just not being, seniors not being able to afford the increase in rent or be able to afford the taxes on their home, all different types of things. So I always, it was eye-opening to me.
That generation may be less likely to work in their lifetimes and partial Social Security.
Right, all different circumstances. They have moved in with family, the landlord said they weren't on the lease, someone's got to go, so grandma goes. All different types of things happening. But right now, we have about 600 beds. That is a 300% increase in the number of beds since 2015. Really, we've been on pace to try to make sure that we can reach No Child Sleeps Outside, and we're on a pace to do that. We have 3 programs that we like to share just because I think it speaks to the need out there. And these were needs that our families presented to us. And one is Popsicle Place. I don't know if you know. We have a program particularly designed for families that are experiencing homelessness, that their children have chronic health conditions. We didn't know this was happening, that families were sleeping outside unsheltered with children that were waiting for chemo or dialysis. We didn't know until we saw Gio, who was 6 years old and needing a 7th heart surgery, and they were in their car, and we had no idea that was happening, and until Gio's mom said, "You think we're the only ones? There's a whole camp of us out here." And so we have partnered with Children's Hospital to begin to identify those families. We've had children that, on dialysis. We have a lot of kids on feeding tubes. We have a lot of kids that are just awaiting the next surgery, but maybe are having respiratory issues. We have a lot of babies that were born early. Nobody planned to have a baby born at 28 weeks and complications, but every parent wants to sacrifice to get their child's miracle. And oftentimes that's giving up your job and then giving up your home so that you can be with your child. We have a dad right now, Jason, that his daughter got aplastic anemia and needed a bone marrow transplant. And Jason, wonderfully, was a match. So he went in to do that, but doing that, he ended up giving up his job. He didn't have the sick time, he didn't have the benefits that he needed. And ultimately, they ended up in shelter. And thankfully, they did. But really, they should be in housing. And so we work with all of those families. We have 13 rooms now to serve 13 families. We are increasing that number. We'll have up to 45 rooms when we move into we're gonna move into an Amazon building in the first quarter of 2020, which is 8 floors. And Amazon has built out 2 floors to help these medically fragile families. So we can share more about that. Baby's Best Start is, again, for babies. There are moms that are pregnant, moms that have delivered. We work with all the area hospitals to identify those moms, bring them into shelter while they're pregnant or once they deliver. Our goal, even at White Center, we have a little wing there that used to be some of the provider offices where moms can stay with their babies. They get to stay in their room. They get 24 access to that room. They essentially get a maternity leave like every other woman in America gets, and they get to bond with their baby, have adequate nutrition, get adequate sleep if there is such a thing when you have a newborn. That's just, but all the while working on housing. And then of course at all of our sites we have a robust kids club because do you know 60% of the folks we serve are under 18. We serve a lot of kids. Our kids club gets all of our families connected to school and childcare. Last year we worked with 244 schools up and down I-5 to make sure our kids got transportation back and forth every day so they don't miss a beat of their education. And then we also work to get children connected to childcare because most families are with us about 85 days now. That's an average. Some stay longer, some have multiple barriers. It just takes a while to remove those barriers. All of them are ready for housing. It just takes a minute to find that housing for them. And then our big thing that we do, we get you into shelter tonight, but the goal is housing. If we can move you into housing today, that's what we would do. But usually housing comes tomorrow, right? And so we are working at the minute you get in. We do assessments, we talk about your barriers. There's nothing too big, too little, too ugly, too yucky to talk about because we want to get it all on the table because something brought you here, right? And so what is that? And maybe it's just you don't have your kids' documentation. You have to have birth certificates to prove your kids when they move into housing. Let's get those right away. Sometimes it's just you need another connection to our First Phosphor Down. We can help you with that. Sometimes it's past eviction. Let's talk about that. Let's get on some payment plans. What do those things look like so that we can help move you forward and remove those barriers now? But when you're, the other thing is we've been working really hard to work with landlords. And last year, or the last 2 years, our landlords have met with over 600 landlords. They look on Craigslist, they drive by a sign that says for lease. It doesn't matter, they work with a lot of the nonprofit housing partners. They go up, they shake hands, they talk, and they engage, and they say, we have really great families. And if you would just let us know when you have an opening, we will send you families that meet your screening criteria. And not only that, we've put away some money in an account that we call our landlord mitigation fund. And if something happens in that unit, we will reimburse you up to $3,500. If it's a plumbing, if it's a drywall issue, doesn't matter, as long as you put another Mary's Place family in there. We've had that account now for 3 years. Guess how many times we've used it?
1 time.
Used it twice. Yes. A truck that went down in the toilet, but did a little plumbing. Doesn't have that, right? And another was a little drywall problem. But they were happy to move families back in there. Our families are resilient, they are responsible, they are just looking for an opportunity. And sometimes it means we have to pay extra deposit. We'll do whatever it takes, but we work with landlords and build those relationships, and that's our back door out of housing. Until we can build more affordable housing, we just have to build relationship after relationship with a landlord to make sure our families have a place to move to. Then, for those families that aren't lucky enough to win the lotto, to get a shelter bed tonight, because there simply aren't enough, we have diversion. Mary's Place runs mobile diversion. That means we go to the family. We go to the back of the U-Haul. We go to the grocery store where the kids are washing up before school and brushing their teeth, like Khalil said on the video. We're there and we're simply saying to mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or whoever they're living with, what will it take to move you into housing today? Because that's what we wanna do. And it is an amazing, successful program. Diversion doesn't mean diverting you from homelessness, it means diverting you from shelter whenever possible, and moving you directly into permanent housing. And so, I think it's next slide, the numbers, I get really bad at this. So you can see the families that we diverted from housing, from cars to tents. The first year we tried it for 8 months, we moved 126 families into permanent housing directly from their cars. And last year we did 286 families. So it's possible, right? We are on a path to do that, and as well as move other families from shelter into more stable housing. So these are our numbers. You can see our growth over time. The reason we know it's possible to make sure no child sleeps outside, that you don't have to turn families away. Families do not have to be in tents and U-Hauls in the back of cars. They can be inside, they can be safe, their kids can be connected to school, their families can be connected to employment, and they can move forward. It just takes a moment, right? About 85 days. I'm gonna turn it over to Keisha, because she's really the awesome and amazing one that is the boots on the ground, and she's up there at nights, she's there in the morning, she's on weekends, she is supporting her team of amazing, dedicated employees, many that live in the neighborhood, but mostly she is there loving on families when the rest of us can't be. Thank you.
Thank you for having us here today, and although everything Marty said is correct, all of it also goes right back out to you for letting us be in the community and accepting us. And so we're just really happy to be a part of White Center. These are our numbers, comparing 2018 to 2019, you see that we are pretty much on pace. We probably will even surpass these numbers. But in 2018, we served 126 families. Year to date now, we've served 55 families. Individuals we've served, 364 in 2018 and 161 year to date. But what we do is we like to just break down, particularly the children, because again, our motto is that no one's child should sleep outside. And these are the numbers. And this is what we're working really hard to reduce. And in 2018, it was 179, and year to date thus far is 87. And as you can see, these are our bed nights. I like to talk about the jobs though. As Marty said, early on when our families come in through the doors, we have a program where we get them ready and set and started for success. And that includes talking about what type of job they really would like to have versus what type of job they'll need so that they can stay on this housing journey and be rapidly placed back into housing. And we have an employment specialist at our site as well as all of our sites that sit down with our guests and really discuss the things that they are interested in, what they have skills in, and we help them get employed as rapidly as possible. Even to something as minuscule as getting food handler's permit, because that can be a barrier for some of our families. And that's a simple $10 cost, and we help with that as well. And then another figure to look at also is our families that have moved into permanent, stable housing. In 2018, it was 47, and year to date, thus far, we have 17 families, and that's really something to applaud about. Thank you. Yes.
I'm just curious,
Yeah.
what those are less than the total number of families you serve, what are the rest of them assumed to be remaining, or are there other ways of?
Are you referring to the families that moved into?
More stable and the total number you serve?
Right, because there's, and I was going to allude to this a little bit later on, our families have different barriers toward housing. Everyone's story is going to be different. And yes, the number right now, when you look at it, it seems lower is because some of those families are actually still at our shelter waiting. Again, as Marty had said earlier, it's just oftentimes either documentation that's holding up, that's the barrier, or it could very well just simply be there's just not a unit available that fits the criteria or the income structure that they have.
serve a lot of babies out of this site, and for moms to get ready and go back to work, it's a difficult challenge. But we're working on it, and yeah, we're working on 100% of families to move into permanent housing, but affordable housing has to catch up. When you don't have somewhere to move folks to, it becomes a bigger challenge. And the financial stability piece is what we work on from the moment you get in there. You have to get a job that you're gonna be able to sustain the housing. We're not gonna put you in something you can't afford, right? And not every family stays with you. Some families wanna go back to family, they wanna move somewhere else. Some families get transitional housing, meaning that doesn't count as permanent housing for Mary's Place, but it's a place they can stay up to 2 years on 30% income. But those outcomes that aren't recognized by the county for a shelter provider.
So there's some.
There's lots of other things,
Some
yes.
good and appropriate exits that aren't shown in those numbers.
Right, but then there are also families that don't come back. We don't know what happens, right? And I will tell you, community shelter is challenging. It's not a slumber party. It is challenging to live with 70 other people that you don't know. But it also can become the most loving, inviting, warm family environment you've ever had. You haven't had that. And people doing chores and working together and addressing your barriers and not afraid to talk about the tough stuff. But for some people, that's not what they're used to. So some people will come and go, and some people will come on back. But we're there for when you need us and when it's right for you. We can't force you. That hasn't ever worked for anybody. But
did you have a question?
I was just gonna say, I saw in the paper, I thought that, I think it's this weekend, there's some sort of a job fair at the, somewhere in White Center.
For 16 to 24.
Oh.
Awesome.
We
got one
other,
other
there's another one in South King County later in June for all.
We send a lot of those out, post all those. One of our 16-year-olds just got hired at the school. That was exciting.
Back when you gave us the original pitch for the White Center, I asked you who we shot when things got screwed up. I'm happy to say we didn't have to shoot anybody and it's been a fantastic.
But I will say, we're not perfect neighbors. Mary's Place is not perfect at anything, and if there are issues that go on, we do want to know. We said we can fix them, and we have had neighbors call us and say, "It's kind of loud music playing out there. We can fix that in a heartbeat as long as we know," things like that. So, thank you. Thank you. So, we won't be in that building forever, as you know, and that's the way we planned it when we came here, right? We know that's what Mary's Place does. We move on and we move to the next neighborhood and love on that community too. But we're always looking for empty buildings. We're looking mostly right now for landlords and connections. Somebody that's willing to have a conversation with us about, is it possible to partner? And we need your voice. Keep talking, keep sharing. That affordable housing is important. It is. Most families can't afford, even a reduced rate at, 60 to 80% AMI. That means they have to be earning, for many of them, $80,000. That's just not what they're earning, in their household. So we're working on that piece ourselves. And then volunteer. We would really like to see you inside our shelters, coming beside our families. You are the hope. It's really different when you're staff and you're in there to be paid to serve. But when somebody else comes in and wants to read to a child or rock a baby so that the mom can take a break, maybe you know geometry way better than me. That would be a good thing. You want to come in and help serve a meal, or we would love, we got yard work. You drive by, we got yard work. Oh, we've got yard work. We would love help with that. Whatever it is you like to do with your friends or at your house, we want you to do with us. And in the holidays, we're always looking for toys and gifts to make sure Santa knows everybody's address. And then we also started a new program called Make a Home. And basically what that is if neighbors want to get together, or church group or book club, it doesn't matter, employees, and you want to gather a few items Because I will tell you, if you've ever gotten into a home of a Mary's Place family, once they leave, it's heart-wrenching. They are eating on cardboard boxes that are flattened out, just so they have that sense of family time, but they wanna sit around the table, but they don't have one. Those are things that you can gather, things that you have, right? You put it, or look on Buy Nothing, or put it on Nextdoor. We're looking for 2 beds for, you know, Molly and James, and we're, you know, and gather those things on one day, and we have a coordinator, Irina, who meets you at the home with the mom and the family, the mom, the dad, the grandma, the grandpa, whoever is there with the children, and then you deliver those items, and if they want, you can help set them up, but just as a show up, we wanna help you, and we wanna continue to be your community even when you move into housing, you're not alone. So that's another thing that you can do. So, any questions for us?
In terms of kind of volunteering opportunities, what type of hours do you guys typically hold? I mean, is it Saturdays, is it evenings, during the day?
It's both. We have kind of up till about 7 o'clock, 7:30. Our curfew is 8:30.
Okay.
So, our families are tired. They get up early, they gotta get kids to child, just like everybody else's family, but they're taking the bus, they gotta get to childcare, to school, all those type of things, so they go to bed early, but up to about 7 o'clock at night, and yes, Saturdays and Sundays are great times to come in. We would love that too. And our families are busy, so when you come in, you may not see a ton of families because they're working, they're at school. We want our kids to still play soccer and camp, or go over to the aquatic center and swim. We're over at like once a week at least. They're all over there swimming, if you don't know. Yeah, they give us free classes. It's amazing all year long. They're out at dance classes, but then we also have classes inside if you like to teach science or computers or maybe music or bring in a keyboard. Oh my gosh, that's a crafting group. Yeah, love that. So sewing, whatever it is you like to do, they like to do. So,
Marty, I'm wondering, where are you finding housing for them? Are you finding housing around White Center?
there are some, yeah, mostly going farther south, I'll have to be honest. The farther south you go, the little more affordable it gets, right? So, Kent, Federal Way, is kind of where we're seeing that. We have a lot of partnerships with, some other nonprofit housing that we're working on. We've placed 200 families in H&N housing that is spread across all over the Renton area, things like that. Our families mostly don't go farther north. They want to stay in the community that they grew up in and that they feel connected to. When they lose their address, they don't want to leave their community. And I think that's probably the greatest gift that you've given them, is that you've allowed them to stay here. They're going to schools in this neighborhood.
Have you thought about doing, you know, the new Seattle thing with the cottages, backyard things, and, you know, like that sort of thing? Even though that's not us here, it's just over the border, so I don't know when it's starting or where, but also I found a property that's for sale by owner, but when I'm done here, it's nearby. It's huge and it's got gardens, so it could be a multi-family thing, but that's later. Just thought of it, but, you know, those little ones that they're allowing, and that would be the perfect thing because you could really understand who you're helping. It's a family, even though it's a small dwelling, you know.
We've partnered with the Block Project, and I don't know if you know the Block Project, but they build housing in the back of, in neighborhoods, and the community comes around, and that whole street, and that whole community has to buy in, the neighboring streets for that family, and to support and love that family. And they build this housing in the back that is beautiful. It's not very big, but it's all off the grid. It's pretty amazing.
Wow.
Solar, and oh my gosh, it's just awesome.
And is that the new one that the mayor
we built one in there.
I mean, the mayor just went, or they just did something new that's beyond what they already had, as far as.
I don't know, the one we went into, what neighborhood is that?
I think they're fast tracking permits, that's what it is.
That's what it is, yes.
Okay, so it should
They
be
fast track permits for shelter, that's why we're in them, but, so, yes. But, anyways, we do that, we put a single, for the very first time, we put a mom that was pregnant and delivered, and maybe back to that backyard cottage. It's perfect, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, any other questions for us?
How is your facility in Buren?
Thank you for asking. It is best. It is, yeah, a lot of love there. That's where the 13 popsicle place rooms are. which has been amazing. You know, it was an old hospital. You guys know we're only like 1.5 miles from there. And so it was an old hospital, so it was amazing how it was set up for these families, and it's all different size rooms,
What
so.
hospital?
Oh, it was, the Lakeside Milam Recovery Center, but it was built in 1959 or 50, like, the Shanley Hospital. 128th and Ambon. Okay. And so it's also 4.3 acres. So yeah, it feels like a little slice of peace and tranquility. We just put a playground in the back, so it's just very peaceful. So it's a great location too. It has about 200 family members in there. It's the one property that we own. A couple bought it for us, and then we were paying them back. And so we've had some incredible donations to be able to pay that off. So, but yeah, it's really 200 family members moving in and out. We've piloted a couple different projects in there. A diversion project where those families that were living in their cars got the subsidy to move out into permanent housing. But you had to stay outside in your car to get that subsidy. So now we brought them inside and allowed them to stay in there, still get food and have a bathroom and go to school and all those things, but still move out in the same amount of time. So it's working. We're piloting all different types of new things. And it's our, I think one of the exciting things about this property is that it's our main kitchen for all of our sites. So you saw the 390,000 meals. So it's a great place to volunteer. We are very much into food recovery. I don't know if you know, but we work with Starbucks and Amazon to recover their food that's made today, donated tonight, and on the shelf, and our family's hands in the morning. So everything you're buying at that Starbucks Mercado, those little protein boxes and the sandwiches and the salads, or if you go through Amazon Go, all of our guests are getting those things, and it's incredibly nutritious. It's everything from the fruit to the water that they clear out to the yogurt that we pick up. Our trucks are out every night picking that up. Volunteers are sorting it for all 10 shelters in the morning. It's brought our food costs down from $18 a day per person down to $3.60. So that's money we've saved and put back into helping families get into housing. So yeah, it's amazing. And then they still get a nutritious hot meal that's prepared at the Burien site. So if you like to cook or chop or make sandwiches, that's your gig. It's over there. So yes.
Is Mary's Place in the southeast Seattle Skyway area at all?
Not yet. Never say never, I've learned.
Okay.
Yeah.